Less than a year after construction started, the new field house is nearly complete. Coming up on this edition of MHS Rewind, we'll give you an inside look at the progress that's been made and tell you when construction should be finished. We'll take you off campus to another construction site. This one, however, is being run by the students in the building trades class at MHS. And we'll tell you about the new musical that's based on a popular board game.
And in sports, we'll have a feature story on longtime assistant track coach Dave Contreras and have an MHS Rewind in focus on former softball coach Ken Rhoden and his impact on the sport and the Martinsville community. Good afternoon, MHS. I'm Braxton Billy.
And I'm Cole Meyer. We'll have all those stories and more next on MHS Rewind. Construction crews are putting the finishing touches on the new field house. Silas McFarland takes us inside the building and shows us the progress that's been made.
Construction started on the field house in May of 2020. Now 10 months later, construction is almost complete.
The progress has been tremendous over the last month. Concrete has been poured, lighting has been put in, some of the drywall has been hung, lockers have been installed into some of the locker rooms. So they are on schedule, and it's very impressive what they've done so far.
The field house is a 40,000 square foot facility built onto the side of the auxiliary gym at MHS. The field house's main entrance will be from the parking lot. When the field house is complete, it will feature a running track and 3 basketball courts. 2 of those will be wooden, 1 will be synthetic. Volleyball nets and baseball and softball tunnels will drop from the ceiling. The facility will feature a new classroom, as well as 3 locker rooms, and an impressive wrestling room capable of holding 3 wrestling mats. Coach Staggs said there are a few final details to be worked out that will take place in the middle of May, which will probably take a couple of weeks. The facility should be ready on June 1st for its athletes.
We hope that this summer the facility will be available for our athletes and access to whomever needs it at that time. Through construction projects, however, sometimes there are delays and things that come up that are a little bit out of our control, but our goal is June 1st for sure.
Staggs also told us that they plan to host volleyball, basketball, and wrestling tournaments in the new facility once it's complete.
The school is involved in another construction project as well, but this one is a few blocks off campus, and most of the work is being done by the students. Photojournalist Cole Willingham gives you a closer look.
This is construction trades, and we meet third and fourth period.
We basically do everything that is required to build a house, like laying down blocks, framework. Then when we get up to the roofing, then probably next year we'll be doing all the finishing work, like plumbing, electrical work. Like right after we were able to come back to school, we were starting to figure out what all the tools we would need to bring and all the stuff we would need to do, like what we need to do to lay down the blocks and stuff. Kind of just everything and anything. Like right now, I kind of the one that's sledgehammering the wood stuff on the grounds, and then earlier we were laying down blocks, kind of helping out the guys who were showing us how to do it and stuff. For me personally, the advantages that I'm learning something that I'm actually kind of wanting to get into. Since I've been always kind of good with using my hands, I've always been interested in doing construction stuff. So this class helps me figure out if this is the correct part of the blue collar work that I'm thinking of doing, or maybe doing like a welding thing that I'm also going to be doing next year.
Have like a whole lifetime of opportunities set up for you just from this stuff, and it provides so much experience and other stuff for it too.
Lee says that this will take us this year and next year to fully complete it, but he's hoping that we get this done and roofed up. So then next year all we do is just the finishing work. This house has already been paid for somebody, so once we're done with it, it's going to be somebody's going to move in right after we're done with all of it. Just being out here, it's fun being able to do all this stuff whenever it's not cramped up in the school all the time like normally on all the other class periods. You're in one spot just sitting there for like, when we used to do the other thing, we'd be there for 2 hours for no reason at all. Here, we're just out here for 2 hours and then come back for like 30 minutes.
If you're a fan of board games, then you'll want to check out this year's musical, Clue, the musical. It's based on the popular Parker Brothers game and features all the famous characters like Mrs. Peacock and Colonel Mustard. The show has several different endings, and the audience will get a slip similar to the game to follow along with the clues. Several audience members will get a chance to pick who they think committed the crime at the end of each performance. Shows are currently scheduled for May 7th and 8th at 8 o'clock and May 9th at 3 in the MHS Auditorium.
Students are back on a more traditional schedule this trimester as we return to a little bit of normalcy a little more than a year after the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Blaine Maxwell talks to a couple of administrators to see how they've handled the last school year and all the changes.
We all know that this has been a different kind of school year, one with new schedules, new places, and a lot of new rules. And even some very important new faces, such as first-year principal, Misty DeRito.
I've really enjoyed it, although it's been challenging. Obviously, given that we needed to be on a different bell schedule and we're limited on our interactions, it's been a little bit tougher to get in and immerse myself into the culture, but overall I'm looking forward to coming back and having maybe a more traditional school year in the future where I can get more acclimated to the community and culture of the school. But overall I've really enjoyed it and I'm really happy to have been here.
Of course, running a school isn't a one-person job, especially this year amidst a complicated pandemic. The district hired a new Dean of Student Services, Audrey Jackson. She took on the responsibility of handling COVID situations, such as contact tracing around MHS and the district.
It's been incredibly stressful. I was hoping that it would be a little calmer than it has been, but my schedule is pretty much day and night. I get phone calls as late as 10 or 11 o'clock at night and up as early as 4 o'clock in the morning. Luckily for the last month it's kind of settled down and I've had a few peaceful evenings and peaceful weekends, but it's definitely been very stressful.
Fortunately, some stress should go down as the MSD of Martinsville announced a more traditional school year for 2021 and 22 with 5 days of in-person instruction.
I think my hopes for next school year, again, is really to get us back to where we can start having student meetings and having students at events with us and feeling like our day-to-day is truly normal. I think we start to get a sense of that a little bit in Tri-3, but we obviously have a long way to go.
We know that there's going to be some long-term effects of this when it comes to social emotional needs of our students and our staff. I think once normalcy kind of returns, we're going to start seeing some of those long-term effects. There's also the lost learning. So we're trying to, how are we going to address those situations?
We're glad that everyone stuck through it and persevered, even though there were decisions that not everybody was 100% excited about, that we really made decisions based on the safety of students and really pushing forward so that teachers could do their job the best they could.
I want to thank everybody for everything they've done and the understanding. I know this hasn't been easy for anybody, and we are definitely all in this together, and keep it up.
For MHS Rewind, I'm Blaine Maxwell.
The MSD of Martinsville plans to return to a normal schedule next school year. This means 5 classes each trimester and in-person learning 5 days a week.
The spring sports season is in full swing at MHS. The baseball team picked up 2 conference wins this week over Greenwood, including a 13 strikeout, no-hit performance from sophomore Kevin Reed on Wednesday. They have new players, a new coach, and are back on the field after nearly 2-year absence.
Before the start of this season, the last time Martinsville played a baseball game was nearly 700 days ago. The Artesians captured the sectional title that day over Franklin Central.
Is Martinsville now your sectional champion? Does that make
Now, the Artesians are back on Tutterow Field, and they're looking for another championship.
This year it's going to be a little bit different. Definitely we have a really young team, me being the only senior. But I'm ready to help all these guys out, and hopefully everybody gets better this year and we can make a run for at least sectional championship.
In the 2 years since their last game, the Artesians have made some changes, and the biggest change is their new head coach. Adam Peterson coached at Superior Senior High School in Wisconsin from 2003 to 2005 as an assistant varsity coach. He then was a varsity assistant at Rio Rancho High School in New Mexico from 2006 to 2011, where he won 3 state championships. He was an assistant varsity coach here at MHS from 2016 to 2018, and this year will be his first year as a high school head coach.
I think from the start it was a little slow because he wasn't sure what he had, but after he got going, I think he really started to turn things around, and hope to have a good season with him.
Coach Peterson expects some players to make a huge impact this season.
I think Braxton Wilson is definitely one you got to watch. He's going to be, spending a lot of time on the mound and playing short for us. Andrew Payton, of course, catching, pitching, playing in the infield, playing short when Braxton's pitching as well. I think didn't really get a season last year. Kevin Reed, left-handed pitcher, is going to impact the team greatly. He'll be pitching and playing the outfield, playing center field, and he'll make an impact with his bat as well.
Martinsville is also going to be a very young team.
We only have the one senior, Braxton Wilson. We got a pretty large sophomore and junior class. I have a couple freshmen that have a chance of making an impact and helping our program. But I think it's all going to depend on where our pitching and ability to score runs takes us.
Peterson is counting on Braxton Wilson to provide some of that pitching and run scoring ability. But that shouldn't be an issue for him. He recently committed to play D1 baseball at Purdue Fort Wayne as a pitcher.
One of my buddies from Somerville actually committed the week before, and then their coach reached out to me and asked if I was interested in their college, and I said yeah, and I went and took a visit and liked everything about it.
Wilson is not the only Artesian that will be playing Division I baseball. Andrew Payton committed to the University of Evansville to play catcher and the infield.
I put a list of all the things I wanted in a school, and that basically it was the school that had everything. So that was the school I went after and got the opportunity to play there.
The girls softball team opened up their season at home last week on the newly named Rhoden Field. The school board named the field in honor of former head coach Ken Rhoden, who passed away last summer. Before Tuesday's matchup with Mooresville, Rhoden's wife Teresa threw out the first pitch. Teresa was also joined by her family on the field prior to the game. Teresa's grandson Dylan is a junior at MHS and a part of the MHS Rewind team. He gives you a closer look at the legacy his late grandfather Ken left at Martinsville High School.
The project to rename the softball field after longtime head coach Ken Rhoden started back in October. The school board made it official at the ceremony on November 19th in front of Rhoden's family, friends, and his wife, Teresa.
Oh my gosh, we were just overwhelmed, the whole family. It was just a wonderful thing for Kip Staggs and Dave Dorsett. They was all part of this, and it was just wonderful. And it's a wonderful tribute to Kenny and how much he loved his softball and loved the kids.
I thought it was really neat, great honor for my dad. The fact that the outdoor facilities here at Martinsville has Tutterow Field, Ciderwoods Field, and Rhoden Field is kind of gives me chills. So, but yeah, it's a great honor for my father.
We want to make sure that we continue on with that legacy and his history here at Martinsville, and this naming the field is spot on for this softball diamond.
Coach Rhoden had a lot of success during his years of coaching softball. He started coaching softball in 1999, and he coached for 20 years. In 2004, the Martinsville Artesians made it to the state semifinals. Then the next 2 years, they won state. They were the first team to win back-to-back softball state championships.
It was such a great experience, and then from then on, it just blossoms from there, because then people, they bite into the program, and they want to be successful too. So it was great.
Rob Rhoden spent a lot of time coaching with his dad, Ken, and they became very successful together.
It's probably one of the greatest things that I've done in my life is spend time with my dad over those years, and we were able to collaborate and kind of go over a lot of strategy and game talk, and you know, he put me in charge of scouting, so there were a lot of times that I would spend away from the field doing other things, and then we would have a lot of late night talks, and those things you can't replace. Those are just invaluable. All those talks we had together about scenarios and things that brought us really close.
Ken had a huge impact on his family and softball, but he also impacted the Martinsville community in a big way.
Of course, Kenny's been coaching. He had been coaching forever. He started out in junior league football, coached there 16 years, and then he coached in and out of the middle schools. He coached girls and boys, and then of course he was head of the Little Artie program, which started in '71, I believe, and had so many kids come out. And we had kids coming up to us even after they had grandkids that were even playing, and it was such a wonderful experience. Kenny, we just loved the children. They were great.
And working with him through Little Artie's was just a complete pleasure. He was extremely organized. It was a well-oiled machine, and between he and Teresa, they managed a program that was a role model for other programs in the country to follow.
Ken moved to Martinsville when he was in 5th grade. He played football, basketball, and baseball in high school and graduated from MHS in 1968. He passed away unexpectedly last summer, but his legacy will live on forever.
Oh, I tell you what, you couldn't ask for a greater friend, greater mentor, super nice guy, true artesian. If that was my definition of an artesian, it was Coach Rhoden.
And I think that when something like this happens, you lose someone, you realize kind of what impact they made, and that's a big tribute to him and the kind of person he was. But to me, he made no bones about it. He was Martinsville.
I still have people coming up to me and telling me what a great coach he was. Kids come back from the past and they just dote on me just because they know that I'm was Kenny's wife, and that we had such wonderful times together. It was just a great experience.
For MHS Rewind, I'm Dylan Rhoden.
The girls' tennis team was on the court Wednesday practicing for their next match. Head coach Brannigan Hewitt rotates 8 players in the 7 varsity spots. Shelby Craig plays number 1 singles, Eliza Osler is at number 2 singles, Alyssa Magali and Lauren Leonard rotate at number 3 singles, Erica Hedrick and Katie Fulkerson play at number 1 doubles, and Sasha Brown and Ainsley Louder play number 2 doubles. The girls play Plainfield on Saturday.
The track and field team is out on Ciderwoods Field nearly every day now, getting ready for their 2021 season. Over the years, the Artesians have produced a few state champions in the field events. Andrea Dalla Rosa won state titles in shot put and discus in 2001 and 2002. And Liz Iverson won the state title in shot put in 2013 and 2014. But on the track, there's been one event over the past 10 years that's consistently made it to the state finals, the boys 4x1 team.
Here's your starting line. Go straight.
The 4x1 team advanced to state 6 straight years from 2013 to 2018. The runners may change every year, but one thing that remains the same, their coach, Dave Contreras.
Coach Contreras really does a great job with the boys. He really simplifies it, tries to get the most out of each and every leg of that relay. So, you know, just that constant strive for excellence has really shown through and through with Coach Contreras and making that team very successful in the last 20, 30 years.
Good athletes, good boys. They worked hard. They figured out what the race would entail. It takes a lot more than just running fast. It takes just teamwork.
That teamwork is developed during practice. The 4x1 team goes through the same movements every day.
Well, with practice, we always start with handoff drills. We all line up with a partner and just go back and forth, exchanging the baton to each other. Reason being, it's the most important thing. Just learning that whole deal there could win you a lot of races in time.
Yeah, so Coach Contreras, man, this is obviously my first year out here, but I can already tell Coach Contreras is a guy who knows a lot about track. I can tell. He's just, fun guy, got a lot of enthusiasm. You know, he really helps us out. We have a good time out here with him, and, you know, just full of knowledge. Great guy.
Coach Contreras is over 60 years old, even though he wouldn't tell us his exact age. And he's been coaching track for 20 or 30 years.
My old roommate, Mr. Taylor, he got me a job coaching baseball. And then there was Coach Payne was coaching track. Coach Payne was a baseball player, and I knew a little bit about track, so we just switched positions.
More than anybody, more than any of the coaches here, Contreras, he came and brought the energy. I mean, he's not the youngest man in the world, and he come out here and he was showing us kids up. I mean, back when I was a freshman, and we had a really, really good 4x1 team. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if we were going to state. It didn't matter, you know, any of the good things if we were going to win state. He just won 110%. Yeah, this is good. This one has a whole. And every day that he's here, he just brings 110 out of everybody.
The boys 4x1 team is off to a great start once again this year. They've won at their first 2 meets.
The boys golf team is back on the course and ready to play after having their season wiped out last year because of COVID. The team is not a very big one this season and is young and inexperienced. Coach Bobby Payne only has 5 golfers, and junior Weston Hawk is the only player with any varsity experience. The boys played at Bloomington North yesterday and will be on the road at the Center Grove Classic on Saturday. A big thank you to MHS Rewind alum Heath Shanahan, the Director of Broadcast Operations at the IHSAA, for donating the anchor desk to us.
Yeah, big thanks to Heath. Getting some good use out of this desk.
That about wraps it up for this edition of MHS Rewind. For Braxton Dilley and the rest of the RTV2 class, I'm Cole Meyer.
Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.